important question here is not whether the Supreme Court is going to decide that Donald Trump and all presidents are immune from prosecution for things they commit, crimes they committed while they were president.
Let's jump over to the televised mental institution known as MSNBC and Rachel Maddow, a woman whose neck is thicker than her head.
Now, if you think about the court as the Supreme Court of the United States and a rational actor and a decent one, that was a reasonable supposition, and it just turns out they're not that. Incremental bit of progress here. The important question here is not whether the Supreme Court is going to decide that Donald Trump and all presidents are immune from prosecution for things they commit, crimes they committed while they were president. I mean, it would be fully insane for them to actually side with Trump here, right? The conclusion that we can arrive at now based on what they have done without having to wait for the ruling is that they are ensuring that Trump will not face trial. And when they inevitably rule that presidents aren't immune from prosecution after they leave office, what that will tell Donald Trump, if by then he is president, is that he can never leave the office of the presidency. Right. And if he is voted out in 2028, he cannot leave office, and he is willing to he is welcome to commit any crimes he wants to, as long as he is still president, in order to ignore the result of that election and stay in power for life, because otherwise he is going to go to prison when he gets out.
Knowles, doesn't that kind of prove my earlier point that they want all of this stuff to get to the Supreme Court so that when it doesn't go their way, it'll show their audience, the crazy people that watch that stuff, that none of it works. Thus, let's just burn it all down.
Right, I know.
Because otherwise you get dictator for life.
Right, you get the Caesar, and I think my doppelganger here, Rachel, is threatening us all with a good time, but it's probably not going to come to that, is the thing, because they're all overplaying their hand. They're saying it's inevitable that the Supreme Court is going to rule that we should always throw our ousted presidents in orange jumpsuits, and it's inevitable. Of course, it's in the American legal tradition to jail our opponents. Give me a break. It's not the legal tradition at all. The reason that this is going to the court is because it's an open question. It's an open question because it's never happened before in America. This is an outrage, and they are, of course, the ones acting in a way to upend our constitutional order. So it's exactly as you say. They're setting the stage so that when all of their predictions don't come true, they can pull their hair out, and I guess they'll get better views. You know, the ratings will go up on MSNBC, but the cost of that will be the further fraying of the constitutional order, and then who knows? I guess at that point, you know, if we really are lucky, we could have, Caesar Donaldus Trumpus Magnus, but I wouldn't hold my breath for it.
Hey, Arynne, you mentioned before you've still got these leftist friends, and maybe some of them are kind of whispering to you that they're coming this way. But do you find that a certain set of them are still just caught in the never-ending state of panic that MSNBC just keeps everybody in? Because that's all they're just peddling constant panic, basically.
Oh, absolutely not. I trimmed those friends a long time ago. I'm only friends with reasonable liberals who could have respectful conversations, which I do think is important. I don't want to live in an echo chamber, but when it comes to leftists, those are definitely not in my friend group. But I do think you're right that I don't know that Rachel Maddow actually believes this, although I do appreciate the dramatic flair with which when she says, if Donald Trump is president again, and she has that pause as to make you really think about what that could look like, like low gas prices, no wars, like everyone's just a lot happier, no inflation. So like, God forbid, threaten me with that good time. But I don't know that she really believes this. I don't know what's worse, if she actually believes what she's saying to her audience, or if she's doing this for ratings. We know MSNBC is always hanging on by a thread. The best thing that could happen to Rachel Maddow, the best thing that could happen to these left-wing news organizations is to actually have Trump become president. And so I generally think that Rachel Maddow shows up every day to work. She gets out of her Subaru, probably, and she goes in and decides to think, what can I say to my audience of mentally disabled, childless, single, ambiguously female, freak Democrats who have vegan cats on antidepressants? And I think this is what comes out of her mouth.